For over 130 years, McCormick has helped you make Mom's lasagna to keep her secret recipe alive. Take over taco night, no matter how chaotic your day is. Conquer the bake sale, even if you get to it last minute. And craft the perfect Sunday brunch when it's not even Sunday. Because with McCormick by your side, it's gonna be great.
Hey, what's going on, Los Angeles? Welcome back to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB network. Hope everyone has had a great week so far. The weekend is upon us. And guess what? Live football is here. Obviously, the Hall of Fame game was last week, but we had 2 preseason games last night, and the Rams play this weekend against the Dallas Cowboys. They had joint practice up in Oxnard just yesterday. So Skinny T and I are going to get all up into that and then, pseudo preview the game. It's hard to preview preseason games, but we'll just kind of talk of what we're looking for, some matchups we're looking at and stuff like that. So excited. Football, it's finally back. It felt like a long off season, even though there's always stuff to talk about. Now we can talk about real live football. First and foremost, Skinny T, how are you doing on this Friday?
Doing good, man. Went and checked out some comedy last night down at Largo. I don't know if you've ever been there, but they do a bunch of different kind of showcases. One comedian will kind of host and bring out a few people. Brought out Judd Apatow.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
That's a big name.
He did a funny 10 minutes. It was a good time. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, one of the greatest comedic directors of our generation, I think.
Yeah, certainly. Definitely. Certainly up there.
Where's the Largo?
It's over on La Cienega. If you guys are here in town or ever come, definitely check out Largo and see what's playing out there, because you might end up it's LA, so you never know who's gonna turn up and do a set. Maybe Judd Apatow.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best fun nights in LA, and New York has this too, but are going to comedy shows. Like the people that come out for those. Like I remember going to Laugh Factory or the what's the
Comedy
real big
Store.
one? What's the big Comedy Store? And it's like just even not the comedic acts that show up that just randomly is amazing. Like I remember being in the restroom and peeing next to Dane Cook. He just showed up out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, what up, Dane? But just the people that show up to just like hang out and watch. It's like, and this is on like a Tuesday night in Hollywood. So if you're new to LA or haven't done that yet, that is like the LA experience. Go to a comedy show, and a small one. Don't go to not obviously you want to go to the big headliners. Those are fun. But the small ones at Laugh Factory, Comedy Store, like just on a random weekday night, those are the ones to go to where you can experience like the LA experience. Go get some tacos after. There's nothing more LA than that. Speaking of which, speaking of big shows, I'm going to Luke Bryan tonight at the Forum. A little concert action.
Little throwback to Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua on stage singing Revival, right?
Yeah, well, that was
Oh, did I screw it up again?
Zach Bryan.
Zach Bryan. Okay.
It's annoying because there's Zach Bryan, there's Luke Bryan, and there's Luke Combs. They're all too dang similar. But I'm saying, Luke Bryan at the Kia Forum. I haven't been to a concert in I don't know how long. So me and the wife are going. Should be fun.
Oh, have a good time. Yeah. We're gonna have to go check out a comedy club that's close to us, the Ice House. We're definitely have to make an evening.
I know, right here. I still haven't been right here in Pasadena. I lived here almost 7 years. Never
just
been.
Reopened. So
yeah, that's true. It was closed forever after COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to check that out. But glad you're doing well. Show as always brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag today. Use our promo code BELIEVE. Tell them the guys at the Rams Skinny sent you. Plenty of fun prop bets. You still got baseball if you want live sports. Olympics ends on Sunday, but there's some Olympic bets in there. But preseason football, I mean, I don't advise betting on preseason football.
A lot of variance. But
if you're a degenerate and want to, place to do it, BetOnline, or just wait till week 1 in early September, or you can place those futures on Stafford to win MVP, Rams win total over under 8.5. Take the over. I'm not an expert, so that's just what I'm going to do. Don't heed my advice. But betonline.ag, promo code BELIEVE is where you can all do that. Dallas Cowboys, I guess they're not in town. They always have training camp in Oxnard. They've been here. How long? They've been in Oxnard forever, I feel like, even before the Rams and Chargers moved back to LA. And it's so their training camp is so interesting to me because it's just like in a field in between a bunch of homes. Like it's not even like a nice Not that it's not nice. Oxnard's beautiful, but it's not even like a facility. It's literally just like a open field in between a bunch of like condominiums. Is that weird to you? And they just like set up some bleachers.
It's weird, and like looking at all the different setups for different teams, like the Pittsburgh Steelers go way out of town. They're kind of off the beaten path.
Yeah.
LMU, not I mean, almost a similar vibe, because just on the other side of the fence, across one end zone was just a neighborhood, very nice neighborhood, nice Vons there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Vons or Johns in that area?
Vons, yeah.
Okay.
I do love Johns though. Love me some Johns.
Yeah, Johns is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like the old school NFL. It was like a thing of like make training camp far away. Like you get away from, even if you're in state, you're still far away. I remember the Broncos when I lived in Denver used to do it up in Greeley, which is like 2 hours northeast of Denver, like a little cow town. They would always do it up there. And I think a lot of teams would do that far. And then now the vast majority just do it at the facility, and they just make their players stay in like a hotel for 2 weeks or whatever near the facility. But they're still right there. The Cowboys are still one of the ones that keep it out of state. I guess they have a national brand, so they figure they can kind of play into that. But yeah, the place they do it in Oxnard, I remember when they were on Hard Knocks, it was just always interesting to me that, because even like the Chargers were at a park, Jack Hammett, which the Cowboys or the Raiders are at now. But it was like it still felt like a training camp because it was a big park, open area. Like this is literally just like one football sized field in between a bunch of condominiums, and like the players stay like at those Airbnb condos, basically is where they stay. Like I just always thought that was interesting.
Fascinating. I've been waiting for my opportunity to bring up the fact that I'm reading George Plimpton's book Paper Lion, where he infiltrates the Detroit Lions 1965 or 4 team, and tries to pass off as a rookie quarterback. But that one is set at a boys' school outside of Detroit near Dearborn, which a little old school football. We just got to bring that up. But five teams down here in Southern California doing their off-season training camp. It's kind of incredible that they're all descending here. I mean, it's not incredible because we understand how amazing it is. Yeah. But it's cool that they're all kind of circulating around here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a football mecca. I mean, SoCal, like, yeah, the Rams and Chargers are new, still building. Rams fan base is great and growing, but I mean, there's a ton of just NFL fans here, and so they can play into that. And who doesn't want to do training camp in SoCal? I mean, if you're, no matter where you're in the country, not a bad place. Even when it's hot here, it's not as hot as it's hotter in Minnesota than it is here. It's hotter everywhere than it is here, basically. And we're complaining about the heat. So that tells you how it helps. Last thing, and then we'll get to actually like the joint thing. I don't necessarily want this, obviously, because for us it'd be more of a pain. But could you ever see the Rams doing training camp like in St. Louis for a little bit, just so they try to rekindle some of that fan base? No,
no. I think Stan Kroenke is probably persona non grata in those parts of the world. So I wouldn't imagine that they'd escape. And they got work to do. They got work to do to build their fan base around here. We're trying to do our part for sure. In raising awareness and hype and excitement, and just shining the light on a great football organization. But no, I would hope that they keep everything Southern California focused, and take it on the road occasionally more. I wouldn't mind to see something out in San Bernardino area. They're going to move to Woodland Hills, so I mean that's going to move things into the valley a bit. But yeah,
hot there. It's hot in the valley.
That's for sure.
Much hotter there.
Yeah.
Which the facility should be opening here any day. They said they were like 5 or 6 days behind, but I think next week or so they should be actually in there practicing. So I'm sure that I still can't believe how fast they built that.
Yeah.
I feel like just a year ago, they was like, oh, here's where it's going to be. It was like an empty parking lot or an abandoned like mall. And it's like done already.
It's one of my favorite catchphrases that I use in my regular life, which is, it's amazing what money can do.
Yes, you can expedite things very quickly when the price is right. So go up to Oxnard, little joint practice with the Cowboys. Obviously, they will play the Cowboys this weekend at SoFi, which we'll get to. But little news and notes from the practice. It seems like overall good showing for the defense yet again. not a ton of news regarding the offense outside of maybe some individual players, but what have you heard, seen, wrote about? What are your takeaways at all from what you know from this joint practice?
Well, they're keeping it pretty clean out there. There's not the skirmishes that we've seen in the past. I remember back to the Cincinnati Bengals and Rams joint practice where Aaron Donald's got 2 Bengals helmets, one in each hand, just terrifying everybody. I can't imagine what that's like, just running the other direction at that point. So that's encouraging. It kind of cropped up a little something interpersonal activity, a little extracurricular activity there, but died down pretty quickly. So that's good to see. Good news about Cam Kinchin's coming out, just making plays out there. Overall, it just seemed like a much more even back and forth rather than it seemed like the Chargers joint practice was the Chargers show. It seemed like they got a ton of turnovers. The Chargers did. In this one, lots of forced fumbles, which was great to see. That was a big question of mine: is can this defense create some turnovers and some chaos in the way of turnovers? Because they were one of the worst teams at creating turnovers last season, and those are kind of the big plays that change games. And you see a couple of those go you're in your favor early last season, and there would have been more W's in the Rams column. So that's definitely good to see. Dak Prescott was asked about Jared Verse because Jared Verse had a great day, got in the backfield a whole bunch, and I guess the rookie is chirping at the old veteran once he's getting into the backfield, and Dak Prescott said he earned it. He said he was getting into the backfield a lot, and you can talk if you're earning
you can
it.
walk, talk, yeah. And you can walk.
Exactly. What do you think about a rookie chirping at a guy like Dak Prescott? Good, bad, indifferent?
I mean, I would never do it. I was never a trash talker anyway when I played in my sporting days. But yeah, I would wait till you earn it on Sundays, not just in a padded scrimmage or practice. But sometimes it does exude confidence, and I think that's a good thing, especially at that position when you're an edge rusher. There's certain positions you have to have a little bit more swagger. Obviously, DBs and are one of the most known receivers, obviously known. But I think edge now is becoming one of those as well. That you can bring the trash talk as long as you can back it up. And based on what Dak said, he did back it up. Now let's see if he backs it up on. Well, he probably won't play this weekend, but we'll see if he backs it up. Hopefully in the actual season. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's just not something I would do. But hey, love to see it. Confident rookie.
Yeah, and it's something I saw out at training camp as well. I actually ended up asking Chris Shula about it because he was talking a lot, and so I said, "Is he, taking on a leadership role?" He's like, Chris Shula was like, "Well, no. I mean, Michael Hoyt's pretty much the leader for that room, but people want to play like him. But anytime you see like that kind of player, it's rookies are going to make rookie mistakes, and
yeah,
I don't know if somebody's going to try to put him in his place at some time or what have you, but it's fun to see. I always liked when Darian Kendrick would do it, even though he wasn't really necessary backing it up. But yeah, I think Cam Kinchin's is one of those guys that kind of lets his game do the talking for him. He's kind of an intensely focused guy. I think I mentioned that last time. That was a takeaway from training camp that I had, was that he seems to be earning a rookie that's doing his earning before he's talking too much. But yeah, Kinchin's got one of those forced fumbles. Troy Reeder, also Quentin Lake, also noted for a forced fumble. So really good things from the defense again. I'm still curious. It's so hard to tell without those offensive linemen in there exactly what the offense looks like. I've been saying it kind of week over week that this team is kind of going to go the way this offensive line does, and at this point it's inconclusive what the offense looks like without those guys in place.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, firstly, I'll just say, yeah, it's great to see the defense continuing to play well and improve. Obviously, there seems to be, which I think most coaches say there is, but there definitely seems to be a point of emphasis on, causing turnovers, especially in the secondary. And I think that's a smacking at footballs for fumbles. I mean, those are game-changing plays that can swing games wide open. They can swing them back in your favor if you're down. I mean, I don't have to, everyone knows this. It's common sense. Turnovers are huge game swinging plays. So if they can have an emphasis on that, and we've seen results in these practices with the Chargers and now the Cowboys, I think that's got to be exciting to see. And hopefully that carries over into the regular season. There was a clip, I think it was Jordan that posted it, but Jordan Rodriguez, but there's these new footballs that I'm assuming are just for practice, not for games, obviously, but they have some sort of sensor in it that when you're not gripping the ball right, it like beeps. So, if you have the technology, might as well use it. And so hopefully that benefits the offensive side, and the defense obviously is eating on the other teams, maybe not using that technology correctly and forcing it. So, but yeah, offensively, I mean, we haven't really, this happened after we recorded last, but signed as we were hoping would happen. And we talked about it in our show. Les Snead and Sean McVay must have watched, as they always do. Signed some reinforcements to the offensive line. That the biggest name, or maybe the most well-known name, Connor McDermott, started 5 games for New England last year. So that, I think, is a good signing. Former 6th-round pick out of UCLA. So welcome home, back to LA. And they also added Alec Lindstrom and Matt Caskey, who both played in the UFL last year. And Caskey had short stints in the NFL as well on practice squads throughout. So add 3 names. You mentioned not knowing what this offense will truly look like without its starters in place in the offensive line. I don't think that changes by adding these. However, just your thoughts on the McDermott signing, because I actually really like it. I think this, to me, well, I'll ask you first, then I'll answer it. So just your thoughts on the McDermott signing.
Yeah, it's a nice veteran addition to add to kind of a what looks like now a very thin depth at offensive line, and he's played both left and right tackle, so that gives him some versatility there, and just a guy that's been out there before, that's seen it before. Whereas you think about sticking a guy like Zach Thomas or Bo Limmer or Logan Bruss out there. They just don't have that kind of experience that would help them in real game situations. So I think it's great. I don't think it moves the dial on anything in terms of who they want as the starters in that, but something that's needed for sure.
So I agree. I like it. It could literally, or it's seen as a depth piece for sure. Like they have who they want as their starting 5. However, I don't think that means that he can't compete and push these guys and potentially end up getting into kind of like a position where maybe he ends up like a Kevin Dotson like transformation, right? Like Kevin Dotson, they traded for in training camp last year, was a guy that played for Pittsburgh but had a down year, and then exploded with the Rams last year, and now obviously got a big contract and is seen as the future guard moving forward. And I'm not saying McDermott's going to do that, but a guy that has played meaningful NFL snaps and can come over here now, has tremendous size, and could potentially be a guy that pushes for one of those spots, and it at very minimum is a great depth piece, but maybe pushes. And here's kind of, I was looking up some numbers in PFF. We say all the time, is not the end all be all. Like these grades are, it's typically, not to sound offensive, but it's typically some low paid intern living at home still that's like doing these grades because there's so many players they have to grade. I had a buddy that used to work for PFF, and he's like, yeah, our like our graders are just like the low, I just don't want to sound disrespectful, but
Entry level.
There we go. Thank you. That's the best way to put it. Entry level guys doing it. So it's very subjective, you could say. Right. But if you look at Kevin Dotson last year or 2 years ago, finished with a 64.4 grade with the Steelers and was credited with 12 penalties, comes over here to the Rams in the Rams system, Sean McVay's system, and new offensive line coach, new pieces around him. Finished last year with an 85.5 grade and only 2 penalties. And McDermott last year had a 67.8 overall grade, which actually was higher than Alaric Jackson, Steve Avila, and Coleman Shelton, who all started on the line. So he had a better grade than those 3 starters, was only credited with 3 penalties and 2 sacks. So, I mean, at 6'8", 310 pounds, you never know. This could end up being like the signing. You look at all these signings in the offseason, Cam Curl, Jonah Jackson, like who knows, maybe Connor McDermott becomes the best signing of the offseason, or maybe he's just a camp body that's not even on the team week 1. But either way, I love the signing because they needed reinforcements badly.
You know, if they're able to get him to that kind of Kevin Dotson kind of level where he actually earns as a starting spot, I'm going to start throwing Ryan Wendell's name in the hat for, I don't know, assistant
100%.
coach of the year or whatever.
100%.
Ryan Wendell, he was added as offensive line coach, comes out of the Patriots system, played there. You know, he's the architect of this offensive line, really. And you know, you hear about these mythic kind of positional coaches. Thinking of the guy that's at Tennessee now with his son, or with his son that's the head coach. I can't think of his name. It was at Cleveland there for a long time. Their offensive line.
Oh, the offensive line coach. I think he's a head coach. I remember Canales is their head coach, but
yeah.
No, Canales is Carolina. Too many coaching changes. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, but just, you know, if the Rams can get one of those mythic guys and get him to stick around for a little while, which offensive line coaches kind of, I think they do a little bit more than that. But he's got to be right up there. It's fascinating.
Yeah, Bill Callahan is the
Bill Callahan. Yeah,
he's one of the great offensive line coaches. Like, yeah, you think of great offensive line coach, he's like top 3 probably. So
yeah,
and then his son Brian Callahan, head coach.
Yeah,
totally. Perfect. That's a name. Like, I totally forgot he was a new head coach, Brian Callahan. Like, because there's 8 new head coaches this offseason. That was one I did not remember at all. I knew what's his name was out, Arthur Smith. I just no idea who was the head coach.
Oh, Mike Vrabel was the one before him, but Arthur Smith in Atlanta.
Oh, Arthur Smith was in Atlanta. See, we're just LA focused, LA focused. Yeah. Arthur Smith was the OC at Tennessee, then the Falcons coach. He's now Raheem Morris, obviously, of the Rams, the head coach of Atlanta. So anyway. But no, I agree. What Ryan Wendell's doing, and this preseason, which we're going to get to now,
I want to point out one last thing.
Go ahead.
About the joint practice. Matthew Stafford catches his own pass for a touchdown, a bobbled pass that he caught. Athletic play for an old man. We like to see it as you're nearing old man status. I'm deep into old man status.
I mean, I love it, but I hate it. Based on that article you said where he thought his career might be over after his thumb injury from catching a 2-point conversion potentially. So just bat those babies down in scrimmages. In a game, sure, you're going to win the game. Scrimmage, leave that shit alone. I'll just say
He's still got it. He's still got it. That's the only thing I want to say.
He's still got it. I mean, he's great. The guy's great. I mean, Caleb Williams yesterday coming out saying he's a top 2 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Love that.
Yeah, CJ Stroud a couple months ago said the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, his peers certainly respect him, and he's not an old man yet. So, but Sunday, Cowboys at Rams. There'll be live football. We will see no starters per usual. So, do you want to go positionally, or do you want to just go, who are you looking forward to seeing?
Well, let's go. Who do we think we should see more of? Just really quickly look at some of these guys. So McVay comes out and he says that even Garoppolo is not going to start. So, I mean, I was really looking forward to seeing what Garoppolo was going to look like at something like full speed.
I'm sure you were. It would look the same at half speed, I think.
Gosh, this has quickly become a anti Jimmy Garoppolo podcast.
Yeah. I mean, he was a Niner, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
And just looking at the options out there, I think there was much better options to be a backup. But
and we could quickly become a Jimmy Garoppolo pro podcast, but we're not going to see him. So there's no new evidence to change our opinion into something. Anyway, so are there guys that you don't think are going to play that you wanted to see more of?
Okay, let's start with that. That's good. I like that. And then we can get to maybe some guys that will play we're looking forward to. So that aren't going to play. I mean, keeping it with the offensive line, since we talked about that. I mean, I'm trying to. Joe Nopum, I would think, is not going to play just because he's basically a starter right now based on injuries, and he's been with the team long enough. I just think he's a guy that probably needs reps, but he's also shown injury history, and so that's obviously a concern. But you got to have live reps. I mean, I totally agree with McVay's philosophy. Since he's been hired, he has not played starters in preseason. I mean, he kind of started that. He was like one of the first ones to literally no starters play any reps in preseason. Most teams will do like a series or two week 1, 2 quarters in week 2, and then shut it down week 3. In fact, they used to have 4 weeks. But he's never done any of that from day one. And the Rams have relatively always been one of the healthiest teams in football. So the evidence shows that what he's doing is working. However, we've seen the last 2 years, obviously 2 years ago being the peak of injuries, and then last year, some bumps and bruises. They've sometimes come out of the gate slow. I mean, they started 3-6. I mean, can you attribute that to playing no preseason? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying starters playing 2 series is going to change your opening season record, but when there's fringe guys, I think they do need those reps, especially the offensive line needs that continuity going in. And so the fact that your 3 starters are injured, and then potentially your biggest depth piece probably won't play either. I would like to see Noteboom play some, but at this point, none of the stars are playing anyway. So now you're just kind of getting what you're getting out of, real depth pieces. Like, is there anything with Logan Bruss? Can he show you something that gives you confidence that he can be a depth guy at this point? Or is that ship sails? I'm assuming Connor McDermott will get some reps just because it's in a new system. Now he's a veteran, so that he might not, but because it is a new system, and he is new to the team, I would think he'll get some just to get up to speed. He hasn't been with the team all offseason, so just getting up to speed in that. But yeah, I would like to see Joe Noteboom. I'll toss it to you though.
Yeah, I think defensively, I have a lot more guys that I'm really interested in that I don't think will play. But on the offensive side, I want to see Blake Corum. And I understand totally why they will definitely not put him in there. He's going to be featured big in the offense, but I'm just curious. I was out at training camp, but at training camp, no, there's no tackling. Pads some days, no pads other days. So it's really hard to tell what the running game looks like. Another one, Davis Allen, just because really interesting things last year as a offensive weapon. But I want to see how he's improved as a blocker. I can wait till the regular season to see that, but I'm curious now for that. Yeah. On defense, though,
you think he won't play? You think Davis Allen won't play just because Higbee's injured? So they're preserving Parkinson and Allen, probably.
I think that's what they'll opt to do. Maybe they'll play a couple, but I doubt it. I mean, why even risk it at that point? But I mean, on defense, Bobby Brown's the big name that I really want to see that probably won't play. That he topped out at like not even 30% of snaps last year that he played. Kobe Turner moved right past him real quick. The other guys have done that as well. He's in a contract year, and I'm curious what he would look like. Playing an entire game. Can he get pocket pressure and be a run stuffer like that we've seen? Just a guy taking up room in the middle. And
let me comment on that real quick for your next player, because at this point, and I never want to sound disrespectful to these players. They're obviously a lot better than me at anything, but at this point, and I've loved Bobby Brown since the Rams drafted him, he's proven nothing in the NFL. Has yet to prove anything that he can be a starter. He's proven, obviously, he's made the team. He's been a depth piece, but he's not proven in really any capacity. And based on even your reporting and everything at training camp, he's leaving practice early. He's in McVay's doghouse some. And so to me, he needs to play. I mean, we need to see him in real live reps. And I just, so I totally agree with you. I don't know if they will. Part of me, I'm 50-50 that he'll play. I feel 50% because of being somewhat in the doghouse and based on not proving anything that they will play him. And then I'm also thinking because he is slotted as a starter on the depth chart that they just don't play starters. So, but I agree with you. He's one I would definitely want to see out there for at least a quarter.
Yeah, that's probably all the guys that, I mean, all the guys that I just know are just going to be, they're not going to be out there. I'm just there's so many things I'm curious about on the defense, but I don't know if it's worth it going into all those ins and outs, because I think we're actually going to see some of the pass rush depth. And we're going to get to see Trey Tomlinson out there and Cam Kinchins out there a bit, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would think so. Here's one. Do you think we'll see Russ Yeast? I feel like he kind of supplanted himself last year as a real quality player. But as we've heard and as you saw, like Quentin Lake has really taken a stranglehold as potential rep guy in the secondary. When you look at the back end, I mean, I think in this unofficial depth chart, John Johnson is starting next to Cam Curl. So Yeast is technically right now a backup. Do you think we see him, or is he done enough where they're like, nah, we don't need to see you out there. Let's give it to all the new guys.
It's funny. All of a sudden, the Rams have like the best safety depth in the league.
I know, for real. Like, I wanted Justin Simmons, and now it's like, well, I don't think they need it.
Cameron Curl has proved he's had a great camp. He's done really good stuff. Cam Kinchins, we already talked about. Quentin Lake, who's now nickelback, but also can play safety. He's going to move around a lot. So I'm guessing Russ Yeast has got something to prove. He and Kobe Durant, I think we're going to see the both of those guys out there. And it'll be interesting to see what, especially Trey Tomlinson, Kobe Durant, Russ Yeast, what they're going to look like as the back end, because those guys were starters not that long ago.
Yeah.
And and the Rams are they have some decisions to make over the next couple of years to see who's, are there any long-term guys here from that draft class, from that 2022 draft class and 2023 draft class. And they need some of these guys to really pan out for them. One, so they can stop using so much draft capital on the back end. But Darius Williams is 31. He's on a 3-year contract, but he's 31 already. John Johnson, I believe, is on a 1-year contract. Tre'Davious White's on a 1-year contract.
Yep.
So, and Quentin Lake is one of those guys from that 2022 class, sixth rounder that's is proving to work out, but is that a second contract there? Never know.
Rams don't do that often. Don't do that often. Yeah, so what we'll see, I would anticipate Yeast to play some. So let's do this now. Let's talk. Few guys, we don't have to go through a whole list, but who do we know is going to play that you're really looking forward to seeing out there, whether it's a rookie or a free agent or a vet that just, is fun to watch. I'll start if you want, so you can think about it, and I'll do the low hanging fruit. Like, everyone's excited to see Steady B out there, right? Everyone wants to see Steady Benson or Stetson Bennett out there slinging it. As you mentioned, Jimmy G probably will not play. So I'm assuming we'll see. I don't know if McVay will do first half Stetson Bennett, second half Dresser Wynn, or if we'll see 3/4 of Bennett, 1 of Wynn. We'll see all 4 of Bennett, or maybe just 1 of Bennett to get his feet wet and give the rest of the show to Dresser Wynn. So, but I'm excited to see where he's at. I mean, obviously sat it all last year with mental stuff. Obviously his health and all that is most important. But now, it's back to business, and, he is a member of this team and by all accounts seen as a potential future of this team, even though me and you don't really agree with that, but that's what, as of right now. And obviously you're going to say that. You're never going to say you don't believe in a guy, but similar to Bobby Brown, we got to see it. And I know it's, he's only into his second year, but, got to see what's there. And the only way he's going to really prove that is in the preseason, because barring outside of injury, he's not going to play for another 3 years as long as Stafford's under contract. So excited to see him, his growth, his maturity, his chemistry with the receivers, his knowledge of the offensive playbook. I think we saw a lot in preseason last year before he took a leave from the team. Showed some fun characteristics, but also didn't look like he had a full grasp of the offense. A lot of didn't let plays develop enough, tuck the ball and run, force some things, which you expect a rookie to do. So just seeing where he's at now, I'm excited to see kind of how that growth has happened in 365 days.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating thing. Yeah, I would play him at least the first half, if not more. I mean, I think let him go out there and let him learn, and that's the best way to do it. So I think definitely 3/4. I'm most curious about the 3 to 4 guys they're going to stock behind the starting 3 wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
by all accounts, Tyler Johnson, Jordan Whittingham, and Xavier Smith have had a better camp than Tutu Atwell. That's what I saw. That's what I've heard from the other beat reporters. We're all in agreement there. You know, we've gotten off the Tutu train about halfway through last season, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, I mean, Jordan Whittington just has some incredible upsides. It's just some really explosive, interesting things that he can do there. Xavier Smith is just fighting for his job. He really wants it. And, similarly to Tyler Johnson, he spent last year mostly on the practice squad after, getting some significant playing time on the Buccaneers as a Super Bowl winner. Catching some passes in that season and in the playoffs as well. So that just kind of mix and just I want to see, that I think we're going to learn a ton about who's in, who's out. And I'm not even entirely convinced that Tutu is going to play in that game. I'd love to see him be thrown out there just to see, as a competition, really.
Yeah.
He's probably feeling it for the first time that he's fighting for his job.
Yeah, I think, by all accounts, he certainly is. I mean, the three guys you just listed puts them at 6 receivers. And if all three of them had a better camp and give you a little more size versatility, Xavier Smith can be a return man. So it's not, and Tutu hasn't even done that anyway. So it gives you more optionality there. I think he certainly is. And we've always rooted for Tutu, but I think the choo-choo is out on Tutu at this point, unless proven otherwise. And that's kind of the theme, I guess, of the show is what have you proven thus far? And can you prove that in this preseason? And that's the opportunity for these young Rams and older Rams in this preseason, since no starters play. This is a huge opportunity for these guys because some teams view these as tune-ups for the regular seasons. The Rams view these more as tryouts for the team. And so what can these guys prove? And Tutu's certainly on that bubble of needing to do that. And does he give you enough upside to warrant a 6th or 7th receiver? Or are one of these younger guys, even a Drake Scoops, an undrafted free agent, are these guys give you more upside than potentially him? So, that's a good one. Tutu is definitely one that I will be interested in. If he doesn't play, then that tells you he's probably, at least for now, in a good spot for a roster spot, which I think would be surprising, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard for me to say that they're going to cut him at this point or trade him or whatever, but it's such a curious case. Such high hopes and such great. He's got good talent in a lot of ways, but it's just never translated.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll give one more name, then you can give one more. I'm excited to watch Omar Speights. I think when he was signed as an undrafted free agent, there's a lot of hype because of just his collegiate career, and hasn't done it. I don't say hasn't a ton, but hasn't made a name for himself at training camp. So I'm curious to see how many reps he gets. Is he a guy that gets a full half, or is he a guy that's in there in the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter? Is he on special teams at all? So Omar Speights, I think, is a name that has been fun. Per your reporting, hasn't been a huge influence within the defense of camp. So kind of excited to see where he sits and if he can be one of those undrafted guys to potentially push to make a spot.
Yeah, the linebacker spot is actually one of probably the hottest contested camp battles that you could see somebody rocket up the depth chart really quickly. Mm-hmm. Speights is one of them. Olakunle Fadikasi is also nice. A name to watch as well. I think he's probably going to get probably the starting reps, I would imagine. Maybe Jay Kummel, but he'll definitely be out there. I'm on defense. I'm most interested to see kind of the edge rusher rotation, because we got 2 guys going into their second year that kind of had that quintessential Rams edge rusher feel to them, where there was a low draft guy but had a ton of athletic upside, but then we saw nothing from them last year. And those guys are Nick Hampton and O'Shawn Mathis, those 2 guys. But then they got a couple of young guys breathing down their neck. The main one being Brennan Jackson, who was drafted this last year in round 5. So I'm curious to see if any of those guys can make a splash in that kind of edge rusher that would really solidify a really interesting group of edge rushers that are untested so far. Jared Verse, Byron Young, 1 year under his belt, but still question marks without Aaron Donald right there. So that's probably my biggest question and what I'm really looking forward to. Tyler Davis is another guy, another drafted guy that I'm really, really eager to see. Is he in there with Laurel Murchison and Desjuan Johnson?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think the rotations are what everyone should watch for this Sunday. As to not necessarily who's going to be like number 2 on the depth chart, but just in terms of
can they be a contributor?
Exactly. And how good this team feels about that depth and that rotation. If it's steady rotation, then they feel good about all guys. If it's like one guy getting a lot more reps than another, then obviously, you can see that's the clear cut confidence level in that. And maybe, just not much upside to another player. So those are always things to watch for in these preseason games and to get at. So, I mean, should we give a score prediction?
Oh, sure.
I mean, unless there's another player you want to talk about or anything you want to add.
No. I didn't even really give it any thought because the final score of these games is completely irrelevant.
Completely. Oh, okay, I'll start. I think the Rams, for whatever reason, never win many games in preseason just because they don't play ever any starters and their depth is always work in progress. We've talked about a lot. They really take chances on guys, which is what I think makes them such a fun organization to not just be a fan of, but to follow. But it takes some grooming and obviously some slot play. And I think the Cowboys will probably play some starters I'm not going to play Dak and whatnot, but I'm sure they'll play some starters at some position levels. So if I'm giving a score, I'll go 17-13 Cowboys.
Yeah.
Meaningless game.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I wonder if we're going to see Cardi, the new kicker. I wonder if he's going to make
I would think so. Have to.
Yeah, you got to think so. I'm going to go 20-13 if Cardi's playing Cowboys.
But if he's not playing, it's like 20-3.
Yeah.
It's all on Cardi. It's a Cardi and SoFi. Last thing, and we'll wrap up. Hearing Jerry Jones talk to reporters, it's got to make Rams fans feel pretty good where they stand with Les Snead and Stan Kroenke and whatnot. I mean, one of the great owner GMs in the NFL history will be a Hall of Famer, but I think it's time for him to kind of step aside. Just based on what he says, it's like, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
I'm sure you saw all that, yeah?
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb isn't important, they got one of their offensive linemen out as well in a contract dispute. Yeah, no, also looking to that team to the north as well with how they've dealt with Ayuk at this point where, they're a really interesting case because they're suffering from the disease of me, but they don't have any trophies to stick on the shelf to like at least have that to point to. They've just been a really successful team, but Rams fans, you got it good. We didn't really, they kept everything in house with the Matthew Stafford thing, and he was there for the first day of training camp. There hasn't been any of this contract nonsense. They get it done. They pay players what they're worth. They keep everything. They keep it in house for the benefit of everybody. So,
and if there ever is a dispute, they just move on quickly. It's like, all right, we'll just deal you, and we'll move on. Not that there was anything with Jalen Ramsey per se or whatever, or Todd Gurley. I mean, they were all under contract, but I think they've proven like, hey, let's not draw this out and have all this media speculation. Like, again, like you said, the biggest media speculation was around Stafford, but there was really nothing to it that we heard of, and it got done before the season started, and he was at all offseason workouts, and so Jerry Jones just makes me laugh. If you cover the Cowboys, he's probably great for sound bites and clicks because of what he does. But I'm like CeeDee Lamb, not a priority. To get done, and it'd be one thing to say like I'm not concerned because I'm confident, but to just say like, yeah, it's not a priority. Your best player is not showing up to work. That's got to be a little concerning.
And one of the most famous stories of any free agency ever was Emmitt Smith holding out. They lose like the first 2 or 3 games, and like, oh, all of a sudden they got that deal done.
Yeah.
And the fact that this Dak Prescott thing keeps coming up over and over again, it shows you why they haven't won a Super Bowl in a very long time, or a playoff game for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if Ayuk ends up getting dealt and signs a $30 million per year deal, I mean, Cowboys are just looking even more dumb than they already are, because then CeeDee Lamb's not taking less than that. Not nothing against Ayuk, but Ayuk's basically had one good season. I mean, he's been a solid player, first round pick, but last year was his first like great season. Outside of that, he was good, always good, and gives you optionality. But I think last year was his first year over 1,000 yards receiving, wasn't it?
I think it was his second, but this one was definitely. I mean, he and Purdy obviously have a great connection, and I mean, the fact that you would want to get out of that system, they make it so easy for those receivers to put up those kind of seasons, and to go to a place like Pittsburgh or the Patriots. I mean, good luck to you. Good luck to you, Ayuk, wherever you end up.
I mean, hey, to each their own. I have no problem with guys getting paid what they think they're worth.
Definitely.
But if you truly would rather play with Russ and the Steelers, or whoever's going to start in New England versus a team that was just in the Super Bowl, then more power to you.
Yeah.
Not what I would do. But hey, never mind. That's not even us to deal with. That's the Niners.
Well, you know, what's $5 million between friends, really?
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, obviously it's a lot for us. It's a ton of more than I'll ever make in my entire lifetime. But when you're making that much, like, to me, I always compare it to this, and it's not like an exact apples to apples comparison. But like, if I'm in a really good spot making $100,000, and another company that is, I think, worse off, but they're offering me $120,000, like, is that 20 grand really worth the move? Because when you're comparing it like that, like, literally, what's 28 million versus 29.5 million? Like, it's so much money. Like, is that, like, obviously in real terms, that's a lot of money. When you look at it as like a normal person, 20,000, like, does that really change your life that much more than you already had changed? That's how I look at it. Yeah, if it's me making 100K to go somewhere to make $1 million, yeah, that's a huge difference, like, for sure. But 20,000.
There's a crazy statistic that came out about, like, basically if you're making $50,000, your happiness in your life doesn't change until you start making like 500 million or something like that. I'm pulling those numbers completely out of thin air, but there was a statistic out there like that, and you know, money can do other things other than happiness. But and
it makes sense, because over my life, like, I've gradually made more. Still don't make like a lot, but made more and more. And I remember always saying, like, man, if I could just make a little bit more, like, I could do this. If I could just make like, this much more, nothing's changed. That little bit more ends up just going to taxes or some other fee you have or whatever. Like, yeah, unless I'm going from what I'm now to like $1 million plus a year, like, yeah, we're not seeing any difference.
No.
Which is unfortunate, but yeah, it is what it is. We're doing what we love, right? That's what really matters.
That's for sure.
With that being said, thank you all for tuning in. This is the Rams Skinny on the LAFB Network. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, Rams LAFB, please go do that. That would be a huge help for us. You can always catch this show on LAFBnetwork.com, or if you want the audio version, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, just search Rams Skinny. Rams play Sunday. Cowboys will have, I don't know if we're going to start doing lives every week, every game day after the game during the season. I don't know if we'll start that preseason yet. We'll play it by ear this Sunday. We might do it if we're feeling like it, but for sure we'll be back Monday doing all of our recap. But for sure, after week 1, we're going to start doing live shows. So hope everyone would want to hang out with us after the game and leave your comments and drop your thoughts. And hey, if we get enough comments on this video of like, you want us to start Sunday after preseason, then maybe we'll just have to do that. So, but thank you all for tuning in. That's Skinny T. I'm Ryan Dowd. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy the game. Live football, baby. We're back. We're back. We're back. What does it say in Hangover? We are back.
You get a football and you get a football.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Everyone enjoy. Talk to you all soon.